Good morning, my name is Youssifs, and welcome to another edition of Your Life, Your Voice. I'd like to welcome Galia Altobas to the program. Hi Galia, how are you doing?
Good, and welcome to you too.
They're nice to see everyone on YouTube. So today we have a pre-recorded session. So how about we just go to it?
Sounds good. So it'll just take a few moments to log into a pre-record, and yeah, you can see the process that we go through.
They're not in sync. How? I don't think that works.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Your Life, Your Voice. My name is Youssifs, and welcome to my co-host, Galia Altobas. Hi Galia, how are you doing?
Thanks for asking. All going well. How are you? How's our new guest, Youssif?
Yeah, I'm well. Thank you for introducing me and having me. I'm well. I'm fasting at the moment, but yeah, no, we're good. Alhamdulillah, very good.
So yes, Youssif is our guest speaker today. And Youssif is very well known to diversity and disability, being the brainchild of this project, and getting the work and giving it to me. So I thank you for that, Youssif.
You're welcome, Julia. Anytime. I really appreciate and love your work that you're doing with Gulian as well. I know it's been challenging at times, but I think you've come on leaps and bounds, and I think it's a great that you've kept it going and you've seen the importance of it. So well done. Yeah, looking forward to your interviews.
Cool. So how about we start with the acknowledgement of country. Your Life, Your Voice acknowledges the traditional owners of the land in which we work and live, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. We pay respects to elders, past, present and emerging. Remember all advocates who have worked hard over the years for the rights of others with disabilities and human rights for all. Nothing about us without us. So, welcome again, Youssif. I nearly forgot your name there. How can I forget your name, Youssif?
I don't know. We've known each other a long time, Julie. Don't know.
So, would you like to pick up with some questions?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just let everybody know a little bit about me. For those who don't know a little bit about me, just to break the ice a little bit before we go into the questions, I suppose. But just I've been diagnosed and born with cerebral palsy my whole life. I also grew up in foster care. I work in the disability sector. For the last 3 years now, 4 years. I don't know how to say this without. I just want to let people know a little bit about me in terms of background. When it comes to me independently, I've lived my life very independent. So some of the barriers and issues that I have, or the intersectionality issues that I have having a aren't a lot compared to a lot of others. I live a very fulfilling life and a very independent life, which I'm very proud of. And I just want to pass on that message and knowledge to as many people as I can, that despite your disability, it's still your life. It's your, like, that's why I love this channel. It's your life, your voice. Same sort of, correlation. And I just want people to really, really believe in independence and self-advocacy. It's really important.
I just want to comment about what you said about the low level of disability, and everyone is different, and we're all unique. We all have special skills, and we need to acknowledge that some disabilities are invisible, like acquired brain injury. Sometimes it's invisible.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be even non-visible, like completely, like where the person might not look like they don't have a disability at all, but now you've got mental health issues and stuff like that, which is, it's under the disability banner. So, we need to be mindful of those things. But I'm just saying it because what I do and what my principles are around self-advocacy is not everyone can do what I do, and I can't do everything that everyone else can do either. There's some, like you said, everyone's different, everyone's unique. But look, I just want people to know that even though whatever disability you have, big or small, it's all about mindset and belief in oneself, about how you want to live your life, whether people agree with it or not, it's up to you, but it's your life and you just make the most of it. And, that's it. That's how it works for me. And I know that those who can't do what I do, I try to be the voice for those people. I try to advocate for those people. So I really, just want to know that even someone with an informal communication skill and has no connections to societal, I really would love to engage with those sorts of people and talk to them and ask them what their daily struggles are and how they live their life. And, so I think that's really, really important as well. But I do agree with what you're saying, Julie. I really do.
Even though self-advocacy originated from 1960s in Sweden amongst intellectually impaired people, I truly believe that it should be a universal concept because in one's life, whether we have disability from childhood or later on in life, God willing, we're all going to get old one day, and things happen in life. People have accidents, so you can never can really tell what life holds for you. So I truly believe that like financial literacy and other things of skill development, I really truly believe that self-advocacy should be taught to everyone, because when you're in hospital and things are happening and to be able to say to a doctor, look, I don't agree with what's happening. I have my own opinions. I know my own body. And sometimes within systems they mess up, and we, if we can pick those things up, have the courage to say, hey, I think there's a problem here, you need to address it. Or, the doctors want you out of hospital and that you can't cope in hospital. You have to have the right to say no. Something has to be done before I leave hospital.
Yeah, Julie, you know what? Just on that, and this might lead into some of the questions that you might have for me. Just on that though, it's all about teaching others. So seeing one, teach one, sort of thing. About some of I think the first thing is the concept. You have to understand the concept and the idea of the importance of self-advocacy. So for me, it's about experiencing simple, basic decision making. What do you want to wear? I want to wear this today. What do you want to eat? They're very simple, everyday things. And I think for a lot of people with disabilities, I think they don't get those opportunities, even though they're really, really basic. A lot of those things may be pre-planned or made up already, like they've known in advance what their day is going to be like. So I just think that's a good way to lead into the questions, and maybe we should continue onto the questions. So how about we fire away and we can go into that disability advocacy stuff throughout the questions.
Like I
I think it's a really good segue to start.
Like I explained to all my guests when they're a bit nervous, there's no need to be nervous because sometimes we get into conversation. So the questions are like a backup, for a backup sort of backup for.
I know. I'm trying to keep it structured.
We don't get into like conversations. So back to the questions that we haven't started. So, so who is? You work for Ethnic Community Council of Victoria. Who are they? What do they do?
I do. So the Ethnic Community Council of Victoria is a members body. So it's driven by members. It has a board. It was established in 1974, and it lobbies to state and local governments on behalf of multicultural Victoria. Now, what that means is, if there's any issues regarding people from non-English backgrounds or from coal communities, as in refugees or asylum seekers, they lobby and they communicate to local and state governments to make sure that their voices are being heard. And that's pretty much in a nutshell who ECCV is. My role within ECCV, is that the next question, Julie?
That is.
The next question, so my role is at the moment, so I've been working for ECCV for 2 years now, so I started in 2019. I started off as the first disability advocate for ECCV. This was through a partnership with D&D, so I'm really, really grateful for that. D&D sort of plugged me into the disability sector. And I'm still working there, but I started off as a disability advocate. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely wish I could continue it. Absolutely wish there was an actual consistent role within ECCV with that. But I'm actually currently working as a community connector and a national community connector, and that's just basically helping people with disabilities and families and carers to gain access to the NDIS and also, most importantly, educate them or create awareness around how to best utilise the NDIS once you're on there. I think that's a massive part of self-advocacy, because I think if you understand your plan and you understand how it runs, I think that's a good way of where you can become more self-managed rather than having a support coordinator or some sort of plan manager. I think this is good. It's a good stepping stone to just start fostering and encouraging decision making. If you can do simple things, although it can be quite tricky with the NDIS, and maybe that's not for everybody. But I do it. I'm self-managed, and I basically share my knowledge and my experience with other people and other families, and I I present to stakeholders, and I present to community groups, explaining about our services and about my experiences with the NDIS. I wasn't a big fan of the NDIS when I started. I'm a big advocate for the NDIS now. I really am. I can see. I think it's got a long way to go. It's not perfect. I think it has a few nuts and bolts it needs to iron out. Especially with all the current stuff that's going around the NDIS. But I think the merit has to be its purpose. Its purpose is amazing. Its purpose changes lives. It really does. And people, you can't imagine what it's like for someone who has no social interaction. Was There's a lot of noise there. What was that?
I continue. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I am. What did I say now? I forgot my train of thought.
So you were talking about how it can change lives, how the NDIS can change lives.
Yeah, so I think my role, I get this from an organisation called Emparo, which is a Queensland advocacy agency or organisation. The CEO stated that our role as a community connector can potentially change someone's life. Basically what I was going to hint out to before was just that I know someone or I know people who don't. Without the NDIS, they would have a very, very dull and non-fulfilling life. Because of the NDIS, they're able to change their life and fulfill their life much more positively. And so I'm a very big, I'm a very big advocate for the NDIS. And I just wish that, there's a few things around the NDIS that are very difficult to get your head around. So I understand it can be quite challenging, but that's what my role is designed for. There was a gap in the cold community for the NDIA identified, and that our role was to minimise that gap and sort of educate others to get access to the NDIs if they're eligible.
Youssif, how does it work when when things have to be reasonable and necessary? How do you educate the cold community around that?
So one of the hardest things about the NDIS, so reasonable and necessary, it's more about supporting your argument. So collating evidence. So one of the things I do, for example, is I try to. I work, so I'm self-managed, like I said. I also have a physio and a podiatrist, and also other services that I'm looking into. And I get my workers or my physios and stuff to really provide evidence and support around why I bought what I bought. And if you can justify how it relates to your disability, like the impact of your disability, why you bought something or why you purchased something, then they won't question that. I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, shoes, for example, because of my walking, I go through a lot of shoes. And the NDIS, I remember originally stated that we're not here to shop for you. We're not a shopping department, I said, but this is part of my disability. That the way I walk, I go through a lot of shoes, and it's not fair. It's an impact. It's a problem. It impacts on me greatly. I'm always having to have orthotics. I'm always having to, look for certain shoes, particular shoes. I can't have them too low. So my options are limited, and it's very hard to get shoes. So my thing is if you're going to propose something to the NDIS, have supporting documents to back it up. I mean, I've got a lower back issue. Because of the way I walk. My physio knows that I've got a lumbar issue. And as you get older that make it more and more, more obvious. But I got him to write me a support letter, and the NDIS were able to fund me with a new mattress for my back. And it's helped me out heaps. I don't need to crack my backs in the morning like I used to. I can actually get up without feeling stiff. It just makes that little bit of a difference. It's so minor, but so powerful and so has purpose. And I think that's what I would advise people, that if you're not sure about something, whether it's reasonable and necessary, you need to provide documents and evidence or supporting evidence to back you up. And if you can do that, I think the NDIS won't have any qualms with you on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks, Youssif. Yeah.
No.
I just wanted viewers to understand that as well when they're navigating the system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we've got bad internet. Hang on.
We can still hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Just because, you're just frozen. That's why I didn't get that last little bit that you said.
Okay. So you talked about your community connector role. So if you had to have the ear of government to make decisions, is for community connector role ongoing? And if not, you're talking to government, why do you think it should be continued? I think we touched on it, but do you want to elaborate?
Okay. Yeah, really good question, Julie. And unfortunately, this role won't be continuing as far as I'm aware. It hasn't been officially confirmed, so I'm not going to hold that to to black and white. But it looks like they're not funding it, based from our CEO, which is a real shame because the government pumped in $20 million into this role, and I know it's a drop in the ocean, but that $20 million, it would have. I mean, if you really want to know the importance of my role, you really need to go and do some community engagement and actually go out into. I work within the Hume region, so there's a lot of vulnerable people down there, and if you really want to know why it's important, go sit at a neighbourhood house or go and engage with some people in the community groups, with some vulnerable people, or sit with people with disabilities or parents with children with disabilities, and ask them, what is your day-to-day life like? And this is what I'm trying to say. If the government was able to foresee its importance and foresee the value that this role has, I think what I'd be saying to the government is this: go out there and do that. And two, there's a lot of gaps and barriers, and those gaps and barriers that I've identified, a lot of it's a systemic issue. I think LACs are probably overworked. They've probably got too much caseloads, not realistic KPIs, and that impacts on the effectiveness of a LAC or a local area coordinator to give you that one-on-one support when needed. I mean, how many times do you speak to your LAC? My LAC, if I need her, she's great. I know that she'll contact me quite as soon as she can. But in general terms, because I'm self-managed, I don't need a lot. However, I know that if I do need something, I know she's there, and she's always been there, and she'll always tell me as well. To go back to your question, Julian, as well about support and decision choice and what was it? It was
Reasonable and necessary.
Reasonable and necessary. To go back to the LAC is very important in that too. Yeah, LACs. If you're unsure about something as well, make sure you've got a good LAC. And you know what the sad thing is, because of the high caseloads, you've got to be proactive with them as well. I think LACs are they've got too many cases. These are the little things that need to improve with the NDIS. We can't be. I don't want the NDIS to be like the HHS, as in where there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of because that doesn't foster building rapport with people. And the key thing about this role, I can honestly give you, is you need to be able to build rapport with your participants or with your clients to be really understand the impact of their disability. This is a thing. I mean, there's like LACs are great and they're good at what they do, but I mean, I only look after five clients at the moment, and that's a lot, 5, and they have a caseload of maybe 50 plus. And I just think to myself, how can they possibly provide effective support, not just tick a box support, effective support and utilisation and understanding of the NDIS when you've got a caseload of so many things, plus the staff get turned over so much. I think those little things, those little nuts and bolts need to be ironed out from the NDIS for it to improve. I'm not a big fan of independent assessors because they don't build rapport. I don't know if I can say this because it's not official, and it's probably people are going to have some issues around that, bureaucracy. But look, I'm an advocate and I speak my mind freely. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just trying to teach people or give constructive feedback around it. And I just think that, I think our role is so important. I think the government needs to really think about how we can assist LACs to become better at their jobs, because they need more help. Basically, they need help and support. It's not the NDIS was rolled out in 2013, so it's not even that old. It's the biggest rollout since Medicare, and I think, it needs a bit of time and it needs a bit of love and care. You can't just roll something out and not give it love and care. And I think the problem is it was designed by people who probably don't have a disability. And it was, I'm not sure about that, but I don't know. I just think that it wasn't really put through a disability microscope. And I think that's where all the issues are, because, a lot of people think NDIS is, I don't know, there's all these myths and conceptions about the NDIS, but really, really governments need to listen and really, really see the impact that we have on vulnerable people, especially imagine someone from a country where human rights didn't exist or don't exist and they have no NDIS. Imagine what they're going through. They don't know what LAC is. They don't even know what advocacy is. So imagine trying to teach them those things and trying to get them to understand it. I remember saying to someone, I have a human rights framework approach. And she thought I was a lawyer because I mentioned the word human rights. And I said, no, I'm not a lawyer, I'm an advocate. So imagine someone who's trying to understand the NDIS, who has a disability or could have a disability, or even to add more to it, they don't speak English. Or, they don't speak, they've got language proficiency or digital literacy proficiency. That would be incredibly hard to navigate and utilise. And that's what my role is to help minimise those gaps. But in terms of governments, what Julie was asking, governments just need to really listen to our organisations that we work for. ECCV has submitted to the Minister to reconsider, I believe, and I can't believe they just haven't funded because we just started to get traction. Need more time. The NDIA need to give us more time to really, really be more effective and go out into local community and help support vulnerable people from migrant backgrounds. Really, really can't stress that out.
I guess the thing about us thinking about government coming in, really the people that the government might listen to are its constituents, yeah? So it needs the people to say this is what we want, because that's how our system works. The system works according to what they want their government to do. So it comes down to the people coming in and having that evidence and showing that kind of thing. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. It does. People do need to, tell the government this is what we want, and that's one part of the problem. That's a really good, valid point. I have to acknowledge that. But I also think that there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes into that, and I'm talking from the LAC point of view. I don't think LACs were aware of our program when we started, and I think they see that we're doubling up. You're basically doing what we're doing. And it's like, no, we're not. We're not doing what you're doing. Because what you do, you just look at the NDIS issues. We look at the person. It's not just the individual. We look at the whole family. We link them into other services. So if someone's got a domestic violence case or a homeless case or a housing case, we link them into other services. Employment, if they want employment, they want to be employed and build their resume or something, we link into employment services and stuff like that. So the LAC should be doing those things, but due to their caseload, I assume, and due to some people's, some people are good at their job and some people aren't. So you're going to get a few bad apples, as I call them, but that's in every facet of life. Not everybody's perfect. And look, the NDI, what I saw as like an aid, as like a harmonizer. Our role was like to harmonise the role between the LAC and the participant. So when the participant came to the LAC, so they got access to the NDIS, they got allocated to the LAC, they go into that initial meeting prepared. So when I walked into my first initial meeting, I had no idea what they were asking me what my goals were, what my day was. I'm thinking, what the hell is this? Why are they asking me these questions that I struggle to understand? And I'm thinking, how is this related to my disability? And then once I understood it, then I started asking them questions like, no, we don't do that and we don't do this. Because I was trying to say stuff like, well, my disability impacts on my clothes because I sweat a lot when I walk because I use a lot of energy. And I was like, so does that mean I'm able to get clothes? And they said, look, no, that's not something that we do. We're not here to go shopping for you. But shoes, I had to advocate for. My shoes, I had to literally take a photo of the bottom of my sole and said to my LA, look, can you see why I need shoes? It is very, very, and the shoes that I need have to be high ankle supports, have to have certain things about them, and they're very, very expensive, or they can be, especially throughout the year. You're probably looking at $1,000 a year, I reckon, just for me, on a yearly basis. So that's quite expensive. It's not cheap. I know people think, it's only $1,000, but hey, that $1,000 is $1,000, and that makes a difference to a lot of people.
Youssif, so from your experience, you're able to do your job really well because you're client-centred.
Yeah.
You've been through it and you know what it's like. And, some things that you're saying, like something as basic as shoes, you're convincing, you're making a case for yourself and you're giving them evidence and things like that. So I'm also thinking that through your experience, you would be telling who you're connecting to the NDIs or the NDIA how to go about things. And because you've got a lived experience of that, you're able to do it very well.
Yeah. So towards the end of this role, we'll have to do obviously a monthly report or a conclusion report about some of the gaps and barriers we've identified. Some of the things that I've touched on, I'm not going to go into all of them, but some of the things I've just touched on before are certain issues, and I will be putting them into my report, and me and my team will anyway. And we've got a great team at ECCV. I really enjoy working with ECCV. I think it's a shame, like I said, the one thing I love about us too is that we're culturally sensitive. So part of our role is to be culturally sensitive. There's a lot of LACs. I heard a story. I don't like dropping people in, so I'm not going to give you any name. But I heard a story that an organisation basically gave a case to someone based because they were black and not because they spoke the same language, or there was no correlation there. It was because they thought this person's black and this person's black. They put them together, and that's the sort of stuff you don't want. So what I'm trying to hint out there is something. It's like having a support worker. You might have a support worker who you get on really, really well with, and you just click. Other support workers, you don't. And I think that's really, really important, because if you're able to connect with that person, you have a much more effective results when you're delivering support around for that person. That person trusts you. The person will be willing to be open and honest with you and open up to you and tell you their problems and share them. And so you're able to get a really good grasp of their everyday life and holistically put things together and co-design with other people how to get the best for what they want. These are some of the issues I think the NDIS really need to consider. It's not just about, we've got LACs and LACs need to do it. LACs are human. LACs can't do everything in every facet. They should be doing it, but there's too many people, there's too many cases, there's not enough people wanting to be a part of the NDIS. I feel like it's very, very common with DHHS. The caseload is so big that they're turning their staff over all the time. I've been on NDIS since what? How long have I been on there? I couldn't tell you exactly, but I'd say for a few, this is probably my third or fourth plan. So I'd say at least 3 to 4 years. And in that time, I've probably had like 3 or 4 lacs. So on a yearly basis, I'm changing lacs. And this is the first time I've had my lac for more than a year. This is my current lac. And it just makes life so difficult, because then you have to start opening up again, telling them a bit about yourself again and building that trusting with them again. It becomes very challenging, it's not as simple as they're not caseworkers. You know what I mean? You need to build that. It's like a doctor and a patient. You need to build that trusting for them to be open and honest with you so you can diagnose them effectively. And same thing with us. For the lacs to be effective, they need to build trust. They need time. Same thing with our role. We need time to roll out. We need time to build that trust with our client. People didn't even know who ECCV was. People thought initially, because English isn't their preferred language or their spoken language, they thought we were part of the local council. because it had the word cancel in there. So they only focus on the words they're familiar with. And so it took us I reckon, about 3 to 6 months to get traction. It took us 6 months, I reckon, especially with COVID. COVID didn't help either. Shocking, it was unfortunate we went through COVID. That caused a lot of gaps. People went, people think that once you get on the NDIs, you can't reapply. And you can apply every 3 months, even if you've been rejected. If you believe you've got a case, go to an advocacy agency like ADEC. Go to Valid. Those organisations will help you if you believe you have a case. They'll help you correlate evidence. They'll help you understand the NDIS better if you're struggling, or they'll link you into other services that you may require that are outside the NDIS. And I think that's really, really important, because it's looking at someone's everyday life holistically. If parents need respite, we can link them into family services. If children want to be part of a school holiday program, link them in. These are the things that help families and help each other out and get to their goals, and whatever their aspirations are, whatever their needs are, we can link them into those services. And I think that's the key here. I think LSCs can't do all those things, and that's why our role is important, because we can do those things. Although we can't take on 50 clients like a LAC does, because the LAC just looks at NDIS stuff. But I think if the LAC wants to get rid of our role, which they can't, I think you're going to lessen their caseload. I think you're going to make it really, really feasible and what's realistic. You can't do 50 people. You just can't. It's impossible. To do it on a consistent basis and have a relationship with them. Because how do you build a relationship? Can I ask a question? How would you build a relationship with someone?
I guess it's trust.
Yeah. But how do you do that? How do you build trust? How do you...
Experience with you, like they need to be able to have an interaction with you about something that that requires support and help, and they can only go by what they see from a friend, like word of mouth, or it could be through trying and asking.
And what those things take time, right? You're not going to get everything all in. Like a doctor doesn't look at a patient and go, "Oh, okay, I've looked at him once. I know everything wrong with him now." It just doesn't happen. It's not realistic. It's not effective, and that's the problem. I think in this country, there's a lot of people just tick boxes, and they don't look at how can we be effective. It's not just being a case manager or an outreach worker or an LAC. It's not just, you got to be effective in your work. So if I was a youth worker, I'd want to be effective. I would want to know, even if it's just one person, if I can help one person, I'm effective. If I'm not helping anybody, what's the point of that? It's just money wasted, really. So it's about teaching. It's about either providing necessary support for LACs, which is what I thought we were, or my role was, or providing better tools and resources for LACs to be more effective. And, culturally sensitive is very important. If you imagine if you're a migrant and you come from, say, China, for example, and you walk into an organisation and you see the Great Wall of China, automatically you're already at ease because you're familiar with that picture. You know that picture. This organisation acknowledges a part of your country. So that automatically helps build trust. They're at ease already. Those little things, they're not big. They're very small, but they matter because they're able to say, they know who we are. They're familiar with our country. So do you know what I mean? That already puts a positive mindset in the participant's view. Whereas if you go in there being all jargonistic and looking all sitting behind a desk and you got just white walls, they might look at it negatively. I'm not saying they will, but they might look at it negatively and say, you know what, this reminds me of a cell that I used to be put into back in the home country. Who knows? You just don't know. People come from, migrants and refugees come from war-torn countries, and I have participants and clients who they're affected by this, and you have to be culturally sensitive. Like the fact that I'm Muslim. I'm a Muslim person. I work with non-Muslim people. Some people who have been through wars and they've been traumatized and tortured through wars by other Muslim people, by other Muslim leaders, and so they have a negative connotation about Muslims. So I need to be aware of those things when working with someone, because that's the effect that war has on people. It's negative. So we need to be mindful, because that, if we're mindful of that, they'll appreciate that, they'll see that, they'll sense that, and then they'll be better towards you. I had a participant the other day. He's got a highly intellectual disability. His son's got a disability. His son's on the end of, but nobody rang him, and he's got Parkinson's. And instead of trying to come to his house, they want to do over the phone interviews, which his speech isn't the best. So why would you go over the phone? Go to his house. Sit down with him me and my colleague did, me and my manager, we sat down with him. He thought we were part of the NDIs. He just wanted to know what was happening with his plan because no one had rang him. They had an appointment with him for 2 days. He can barely walk. He's got Parkinson's. So what I'm trying to say is people aren't actually understanding their clients and what their problems are. And I think that's where our role was important. And what, going back, William, to what you're saying, yeah, it's good that people need to say, hey, we need more of this, and yeah, this is what we want. That's great, but I think the government also needs to look at the other side, the professional side of things, and why it's important and how we're effective.
Yeah, so in your report, I think that report is a big one,
It's massive.
Forget about us, we can talk, yeah? We know the dominant language. We can talk, but some people can't talk. They can communicate, but they can't talk.
Yeah.
So imagine their world where I get trained explaining things over. It said the turnover of lakhs. Then you have to draw the report again. It's draining. It adds to the burden of a person. So I think there's a good case. Ongoing community connector roles.
Wow. I wish you were the government. I wish you were the minister, Julie, because I sound like I won you over.
Yes, and you are right. Lux are overworked, and and it's not that they're doing a bad job. They're just overworked.
Look, and Julie, you're going to get a couple of people who aren't such good lacks. You're going to get a few rotten apples. You are. There are cases where I think to myself, how are you a lack? How the hell are you a lack? Like, you're not providing the necessary support that you should be doing. Like, you're not helping your client. You're not looking at your client holistically and looking at their lives. All you care about is ticking the NDIs boxes, just putting in a review plan, doing this, doing that. That's it. You're not actually getting to know your client. You haven't gone to their house. You haven't looked at their life. You haven't looked at their mother, their father, whoever's involved. There's a lot of people. I said to a client the other day, I said, if the parents are healthy, it's a good chance the child's going to be in a lot better space. If things are going good for the parent, if the parents have support, if the parents have respite, for example, or support structures put in place, there's a good chance that person living with their parents is going to be in a good space because his parents are in a good space. So a good parent is going to lead to a good participant, good support. So
it's like people understanding their rights. Do you think, Youssif? The rights of each individual, if they knew what their rights are?
Part of it might be a bit about rights, but look, Julie said it before. Everyone's unique. Everybody is different in their case, and right. Knowing your rights certainly helps. It definitely helps. There's no questions about that, because you can use it when it's applicable. Yeah, it can be quite effective knowing your rights. But you've also got to. There's a fantastic word that came out the last couple of years. It's called co-design. Now, co-design is all the support networks. So let's say you've got one individual, you've got all the support networks. So this person's linked into physio, this person's linked into NDIs, this person's linked into a GP. You've got all these networks, all these support networks. These networks should all have the same common goal. They should all have the same common goal, and that is to help the participant with whatever they want or whatever they need in their life, to provide support around those things. If those things aren't connected and they're not in sync, I don't think that works. I don't think that the client gets the maximum benefit of those support services. If one of them's out of whack, I think they all sort of suffer in some sort of way. So I think that's really, really important that when we use one of my favourite words is collaborate. I love collaborating with people. I love seeing what they do, even if it's got nothing to do with me, nothing to do with what I do. I love to know about what they do. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity for bringing it to light.
In this segment, we are going to be talking about disability and the MRC Marble Resource Centre Northwest Region and the programs they offer in relation to disability.
Diversity in Disability Program is a disability self-advocacy program delivered at the MRC Northwest Region St Albans office. We provide support to people with a disability from a culturally and linguistically diverse background to speak for themselves and achieve their full potential as valued citizens of the community. D&D aspires to enhance the freedom, independence, knowledge and opportunities for people with disability from a cultural background. D&D provides workshops on specific topics of interest or one-on-one support. We do this through self-advocacy skills development in a creative and fun environment, connections with COLD communities to create attitudinal change, enhanced participation and representation by people from a COLD background in the community, engagement with policymakers and decision makers within the multicultural sector and the disability sector, consumer representation at local, regional and national disability forums. D&D is run by people with a disability for people with a disability to provide advocacy support and information to people interested in disability and ethnicity.
Some of the programs that are running at the moment include the D&D Women's and Men's Support Group. The Women's Support Group is running in North Coburg, and this year in 2021 we have a wellbeing group which will be run in Stallbans through Urella.
Right.
And anyone interested in attending, please contact the D&D MRC office. I'll give you the telephone number at the end of this session. We also have a creative writing group.
No, that's fantastic, Julie.
A D&D theatre and acting group, 2 D&D music therapy groups, and a D&D art group. Each group is aimed at generating creative and empowering opportunities for people who are not participating in community activities outside their Disability Day services.
Disability Advocacy. The MRC NWR Disability Advocacy Program provides assistance and support to people with a disability, their carers and families who are from culturally and linguistically diverse communities and have difficulty accessing information and services or have been discriminated against. Our staff assist people with a disability to assert their rights as valued members of community and to participate in making decisions about their lives. For more information about the DND or Disability Advocacy Program, please call our office, and the number is 1300 67 6044. That's 1300 67 6044. And thank you for listening and watching.
So, acknowledgements. We would like to thank MRC Northwest Management for the support they give to the D&D Your Life, Your Voice project.
Yep.
And D&D would like to thank them for providing this funding, progressive thinking out of the box project, especially in these times, living through a pandemic. So we know how difficult COVID-19 has been, and this channel is especially for them. So, we would like your ideas on NDIs topics and guest speakers, and we would like also some comments. You can leave your comments on DD Your Life, Your Voice at gmail.com. That's
Come on, guys.
Good.
Come on, get involved. We need to bombard Julie with these emails.
Yes, we do. We haven't received anything online yet while we're going live. That'll be really exciting. But any comments you can leave on rant, and yeah, that would be really great. So,
Julie, did we find a way to leave comments in live things
yeah,
like
well, no one's left comments, so I'm sure that the comment section works, but people have to. Maybe you can test it out, Youssif. But I've tested it out and it works fine. So.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right. So you know what that means. So come on, everybody, leave your comments. Let's bombard Julie. Let's make her life hell. Let's bombard her with some questions and give her some great topics that she can talk about. Because listen, this is what I said to my group, Julie. The more you talk, the more I shut up.
Well, I look at it the other way. The more I shut up, the more you talk. So,
yeah. Well, either way.
Yeah.
The thing is, like I said, I don't think everybody understands the value or the know-how to speak up. It is a skill, and I think people do have a lot to say. I just don't think they're willing to either share it or know how to share it. And I think we should be racking your brain and giving you all these great ideas, because as a community, we need to get involved.
Yeah.
I know I've watched a few of your videos over the past. And there has been some great content on there, and I really, really applaud you for that, Julie. You and Gullian, you've done some great work.
I think I'm really blessed to have really great co-hosts and to have really great topics of conversation. So, Youssif, I'll catch you around the traps, and everyone on YouTube there.
All right.
Have a good
Thank
week.
you, Julie.